Hello friends, and welcome to my February TBR. Now, February, shortest month of the year, although we do get an extra day this year with leap year. And I, on my Read Your Bookshelf challenge, have decided to go the L.M. Montgomery route, which means, if you're following along, I'm following her trail. I can't jump over to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle right now, which means I am reading a book over 400 pages. And I feel like this kind of sets the tone for my entire TBR of the month. I have a few books that I have to read, a few books that I want to read. It's a bit of a pile of possibilities with prioritizing some books, and I like sharing these TBR videos each month. I don't read all the books that I share in these videos. Some months, like January, I picked way too many books. As of right now, like that shelf right there, those are books that I have not read that are on my January TBR. Am I going to read them in the last few days of the month? Probably not all of them, at least. So this may be a little excessive. I tend to do that. I am also going to be participating in February. I don't know how to pronounce that. I shared a TBR video for that already, and I've been waiting for Jade, JD Ray Reads, I think is her channel. I've been waiting for her to announce her annual Buzzwordathon, where she generally does like cold fantasy books in the month of February, has a readathon for that. Normally she's announced it by now. Last I checked, she didn't have a video out as of when I'm filming this. If she does, I will maybe put out a TBR video for that as well. But anyway, so I'm reading a 400 plus page book. Did I say that? That is what my February is. The Montgomery route, we are doing Puffed Sleeves, which is a book over 400 pages. I am going to double up here because my lovely patron of the month, which I'm excited to read this book, but she picked out a very big book, and so it's possibly one of the biggest books on my shelf, my unread shelf. So I'm going to use this book for the Puffed Sleeves book plus my patron of the month book. So every month I have one person over on my Patreon in my Windy, Poplars, or House of Dreams tier that gets picked to be my patron of the month. They get to pick a book off my shelves for me to read. And this month, she picked 11/22/63 by Stephen King. This book has over 800 pages. So, I mean, like, I've read bigger books, but knowing, like, this is on my TBR is a little bit intimidating. So 11/22/63 is the day that JFK was assassinated, except in this book he escapes assassination. So this is a bit of an alternate history. I honestly don't know much about what the book is about, and I kind of want to keep it that way. Fun fact, not really so fun, 11/22/63 is actually also the day that C.S. Lewis died, but his death was overshadowed by the assassination, obviously. Okay, it says, on November 22nd, 1963, 3 shots rang out in Dallas. President Kennedy died, and the world changed. What if you could change it back? So we begin with Jake Epping, a 35-year-old English teacher who makes extra money teaching GED classes. He asks his students to write about an event that changed their lives. One essay blows him away. A gruesome, harrowing story about the night more than 50 years ago when Harry Dunning's father came home and killed his mother, his sister, and his brother with a sledgehammer. Reading the essay is a watershed moment for Jake. His life, like Harry's, like America in 1963, turning on a dime. Okay, I don't really want to read more than that. That's already way more than I knew going in, or previously. But I've heard really good things about this book. I'm just intimidated by the size of it. Also, I've never read a Stephen King. I don't know if I'm really interested in reading any of his other books. This one's quite different from my knowledge. So this is going to be my Read Your Bookshelf challenge book and my patron of the month book for the month. And if I can make it fit in any other readathons or prompts I'm doing, I'll do that as well. Also on my Patreon, in the Windy Poplars and House of Dreams tier, We are reading an Agatha Christie each month, doing a book club this year, and I have a whole video announcing which books we're going to be reading. But in the month of February, we are reading a Caribbean mystery, and I think this one is a Miss Marple. This cover cracks me up. I'm so curious to see how this plays into this book. Like, very confused. So I actually don't know anything about this book because the back of mine just has blurbs by different people. So I don't know anything about this going in. Oh wait, there is something here. Nope, this is just about Agatha Christie. Okay, so I don't know anything about it going in. But apparently it's Miss Marple, and she is my favorite of Agatha Christie's detectives, so I have high hopes. If you guys want to join us with reading this, you can hop over and join my Patreon. I'm going to be doing a video on this book, and then at the end of March, beginning of April, we're gonna have a video call where we talk about the 3 books that we read from the first 3 months of the year. I'm also going to be participating, or attempting to participate, in the Buzzwordathon this year, and February's prompt is like, I think it's a positive word or something like that. So I decided to pull out The Love Note by Joanna Davidson Politano. Her books are, I think all, at least generally, Victorian era stories. They're Christian fiction. I always find that like she finds a bit of a deeper note than a lot of other Christian fiction, historical fiction kind of writers. So I don't actually know what this one is. It says, focused on a career in medicine, not on romance, Willa is thrown slightly off course during the summer of 1865 when she discovers a never opened love letter in a crack of her old writing desk. And I thought the word love was a positive word, plus for the month of February, it seemed like a good fit. So this is the book that I'm going to be reading for that. I should also mention I am carrying over the Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens. I'm buddy reading that with Tiffany and Penny. We started it in January, and as of filming this, I've been keeping up with it every day so far. I have a little bet going on over on Instagram that is currently closed. You can't bet on it anymore, but most people bet that I would actually finish it, which was surprising to me. So I'm going to be continuing that throughout the month of February as well. And another, like this one's I guess kind of like a buddy read. I don't know what this is called. Krista is doing a Christian read-along type thing, and in the month of February she picked out a book that I really wanted to reread, and it's The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. So this is about the head demon. His name is Screwtape. He has a nephew called Wormwood, and Wormwood is kind of like a newer demon. He gets tasked with making this guy who just became a Christian kind of like doubt himself and hopefully walk away from Christianity is their plan. And so this book is letters between Screwtape and Wormwood. And I do have the annotated edition, which I've never read from this edition before. I'm very curious about this. Yeah, and I have loved it. It always makes me think about like what is going on in the spiritual world that I have no idea about, because the man in this, whose name I have no idea, he has no idea what's going on behind him, like that this demon is whispering things in his ear to try to make him doubt his Christianity, his the fact that he's been saved. So super fascinating, and I've been putting off rereading it just because I'm really bad at rereading, but because Krista's doing this one for February, I'm going to join in. And this will also be beneficial because C.S. Lewis is my literary mentor for my DIY literature degree that I've created, so I'm always up for reading more of his books. Another book that I'm going to be carrying over, I've already started this one, is Raising Worry-Free Girls by Sissy Goff. Helping your daughter feel braver, stronger, and smarter in an anxious world. And I'm doing this one for a book club over in my homeschool membership. So we're going to be talking about this book in the month of February. And yeah, so I'm like a third of the way through it already. Really enjoying it. I look forward to finishing this and seeing how I can use what it teaches me in my parenting life. Now I threw on, what is this, 4 books just for fun. Now remember, this is not including my whole February TBR, which involves a lot of fairy tale and other type retelling books. Where is it? It's on that shelf. A bunch of those books. But there are a few others that I'm in the mood for. First of all, let's start with this one. This one I ended up tacking on as one of the classics I want to read in 2024. I don't know if I shared this one in the video or not. It might have come after that. This is The Doll, The Lost Short Stories by Daphne du Maurier. So Daphne du Maurier is the author of Rebecca and My Cousin Rachel, and this book has quite a few short stories. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 short stories. I've read one of them before. I've got this from the library before. This is a very hard to find collection of short stories. I managed to find it on Book Outlet, I think in December, and snagged it as soon as I could because I've been looking for this for years. This is on my personal list of classics that I want to read before I die, even though, I mean, when was this published? Well, the copyright is 2011 because they are lost, but some of these were written in 1929. So technically they're not like 100 years old, depending on what your version of classic is. But this, in my opinion, is a classic and I want to read it. Oh, one of my most highly anticipated releases in the month of February is Mortal Queens by Victoria McCombs. And it's coming out, it doesn't say the exact date, February 6th. Oh, beginning of the month. Okay. I want to read this as soon as possible. So this is a YA Christian fantasy story published by Enclave Publishing. So it says, they vanish without a trace, disappear into the night. Each year on the center island, one girl is chosen to be the next mortal queen of the idolized fae. The mortals praise these lucky girls, but their daughters are never seen again. Yeah, I don't know. Between this cover and pretty much just everything about it, I want to read this book so bad. And if Jade is doing her Polar-a-thon, I feel like this would work really well for it. One that I hauled in December, I think. I really don't know anything about it, but I love the cover and I've heard good things about it, is Belladonna. And I wonder if I can get this sticker off. Oh, stickers bother me on books. Well, I'll work on that later. I don't know. I don't think I've ever actually read anything about it. I've just been like going on Goodreads, seeing what my friends have rated it, and because they seem to have rated it highly, then I'm curious. For as long as Signa has been alive, the people in her life have fallen like stars. Orphaned as a baby, 19-year-old Signa has been raised by a string of guardians, each more interested in her wealth than her well-being, and each has met an untimely end. Yeah, so I think this is also like fantasy. I don't know anything more than that, but I'm so very curious, and I believe it's a duology. I only own the first book, but if it's really good, then I'll see if I can get my hands on book 2. And the last one is another one I bought last month. This is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. Now, T. Kingfisher wrote A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, which was one of my favorite books of last year. And so then I instantly went on Book Outlet and went to see what other of her books they had, and this was the only one that was there. It says Southern Hospitality to Die For. So I think this is a bit of a thriller, whereas A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking was it's a fantasy story, and I think this is going to be a little bit creepier, but it's quite short. So I don't really know anything. I think people out of her other books that she's published under this name, people like Nettle and Bone a lot. This one maybe not quite so much. And then she has another one, What Moves the Dead. Yeah, I don't know. I just know that I loved her writing in A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, so I wanted to give this a try. This says, Mom seems off. Her brother's words echo in Sam Montgomery's ear as she turns onto the quiet North Carolina street where their mother lives alone. She brushes the thought away as she climbs the front steps. Sam's excited for this rare extended visit and looking forward to nights with just the two of them, drinking boxed wine, watching murder mystery shows, and guessing who the killer is long before the character figures it out. But stepping inside, she quickly realizes home isn't what it used to be. So, I don't know. I'm gonna go into this with like low expectations because it's very different than A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, but also secretly hoping I love it. So there you have it. There's my like bigger than it should be once again, because that's how I make my TBRs. TBR for the month of February, keeping in mind that I'll probably be reading some retellings and some fantasy and all sorts of other books too, because other books always sound so interesting. But hopefully I can get to a lot of these in February. I would love to hear what you're reading this month, what you're reading for different reading challenges, and let's just talk about books in the comments.